Okay, so Adam's not here to defend himself. Not Adam Vaughn, but the young man that's named after Adam Vaughn is not here to defend himself. So let's talk about Adam Shane Clarke.
All right.
He is definitely his mother's son. He bears no resemblance to me whatsoever. Sure. No. We were at a congregation and they invited us to go eat, and Adam had been kind of rude where we had gone and said something about the food being disgusting in front of this lady who had cooked for us. And I said, son, why in the world did you say that? And he said, I thought it'd be funny. And then when he said that, I thought, okay, he's my son, because I don't know how many times I probably got you into hot water with that. But I remember hearing the famous phrase, this is not the Michael Clarke Comedy Hour. So I created my own program called Did That Really Happen? Where now I can have the Michael Clarke Comedy Hour, but I bring other people on to talk about it. But Adam, he's me. I can't blame it on Megan. We went to a church to preach and visit with them, and we were in the Lord's Supper, and Adam was sitting next to me, and I tried to hand him some cash so he could put that in the plate, and he said, no, thank you. And I thought that was strange, and I said, well, son, we give, here, this is your cash. And he says, no, thank you. And I said, you have to give something. He says, well, I'll just give with your credit card. And I can't imagine how much he was going to put on there, but in his mind, he genuinely thought, oh, just charge it,
right?
Put it on the card.
The world is grown up in, yeah.
So here's the question for you, since you're the one on the hot seat. I have a couple others about Adam, but I also know that you probably have some stories about me, things that have happened. I told the story years ago on this program with Hobe and Luke at camp about me charging everything to the canteen at TCC. Do you remember how much money I racked up there?
Yeah, when I went to pay the tab at the end of the week, I am not exaggerating this. They told me it was like $112.
It's like 50-cent drinks and candies.
How does someone rack that much of a canteen debt up? You must have been absolutely hyped up on sugar and sugar drinks the whole week, because to get that much of, you were buying, besides that though, you were buying ping pong balls and giving them out to other people. You were very nice with my money.
With my money.
Yeah, I was very grateful that you were so generous. But it was, I think you even got a T-shirt, if I'm remembering correctly.
Probably.
Which is how that number got up there. So, and since you brought it up, I have to tell this too. Okay?
Oh no, I know where you're
going. You know
going.
what's coming, don't you? You told us, Santa's workshop is coming to the school, and they're going to let us take money and buy gifts for our family. And so I gave you a $20 bill.
Yeah.
And you were going to use it to buy gifts for your family. And you did. You spent $19.25 on one of your family members named you.
Yes.
Michael Joseph Clarke. And then with the remaining whopping 75 cents that was left, you bought the rest of the entire family, all of their gifts for 75 cents. I had a little eraser that went on the, pencil. And the things like that, we all were just really. So you got $19.25, and the rest of us, we got what you could fit into 75 cents. So do you remember what I told you?
I remember having to take those toys to the toy drive at South Haven.
That's right.
And I vividly remember one of them was a Spider-Man. And Adam and I, when he gets a toy and like the fast food bags, one of the only ways we could ever convince him to not keep those and just have this plethora of toys, we call them trash toys. because they're designed to just be something to throw in the bag. To be fair, most of these toys, looking back on them, were probably fast food type toys.
Right.
They're not the greatest things ever, but I remember looking at that Spider-Man and being so upset that I had to get rid of it. And then at the same time thinking, like, I think he's got a point, but I'm still not happy that I have to do this.
Right.
But I remember one of those was that little thing you put your eye and you look up and it's got the sparkly, shining lights or whatever, prism, I guess is what they call it. Yeah, kaleidoscope. And I was very frugal with the last 75 cents.
Yes.
I think I got 8 members of the family covered in that. So that's impressive. Maybe I should have my own reality show. So Adam came up to me another time during the service. I was not preaching at this time just yet. We were singing or doing something, but he's gotten really involved in football. And for a short period of time, his action figures were his football teams. So he'd have me come in and he would say, these are the Baltimore Ravens and these are the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then you could hear him in the bedroom screaming the score. 23-10, 45-10. And I'm like, how did they score 22 points? Yes. And then one of the best ones was he would say, Daddy, it is 14-10. And I'm like, whoa. And then he'd go, Daddy, it is 14-11. I'm like, how? And he said, they got an extra point. So he doesn't quite get the rules just yet at this time, but he came over to me and he said, Daddy, spell Las Vegas while we're in church. And I said, no, I'm not doing that right now. And he said, I want to play as the Raiders. So he's trying to draw now football teams playing each other.
Right.
And I just sat there and thought, I'm probably getting a lot of payback. I would imagine that you would agree with that.
Yeah, you were the action figure king when you were a little boy. You would play with your action figures. You'd bring them to camp and have them up on the rafters. And I would be in my office sometimes hearing you play with your action figures in the bathtub. And on one particular occasion, you had an action figure that was, I think, pretending to be Abraham or something. And you said, let me hear you pray. And he said, Our Father and Almighty Jehovah or something. And then you started pretending to be like some terrorist killing him because he was praying to the Father instead of Muhammad. It was really wild. And then we had to take away your Goliath action figure because you had a David and Goliath action figure set, and you started letting Goliath win. And your mom and I were like, no, we're not changing the story from the Bible to Goliath defeating a man of God. And it was like, well, you were trying to justify it. And we're like, no. It's
because I remember being a little kid, and as a grown-up now, it's a true testament to God's power. But as a little kid that grows up watching the Power Rangers and Avengers type stuff, TV shows, Marvel, the heroes never just win every time. And there's always a struggle. That's what the battle is. But then we'd get into church and you'd get in the pulpit and your series that you did on the Kings, you'd get up there and talk about different battles and different things. And you're like, and they won immediately. And it's like, oh, I mean,
where's the drama?
Where's the drama, right? And so as a child, it's like David and Goliath is an underdog story of all. It's the underdog story. And then I remember thinking, that's boring for a battle. You got to have a struggle. So my plan was that he was just stabbed. He was going to win, but it was going to be more difficult. And I just remember, all of a sudden you heard what I had done, and I heard you go, "What are you doing?" And I said, "It's too easy. It's just too easy."
Right. So David got stabbed in your version.
Yes, but he lived, and he had an awesome scar to tell the tale.
Right.
But I don't know. Did you donate those too? Did we? Because you had to take them from me, and I don't ever remember seeing them again.
I don't remember
where we put them.
Back to you. We didn't actively give them to someone else.
It would be funny if they're just somewhere on a shelf in one of the houses we lived in that no one knows. They're just up there.
Right.
And I had gotten those at East Hill at the Pulaski lectureship there, the Truth and Love. And so that I remember that being like a really awesome thing. And then like 10 days later, it was like, it's not as awesome as I had thought because I was denying scripture. What about the times where we were traveling in the car as small children? I mean, we're dealing right now with, and I told this already this season, but I'm going to just say an update to this. But Audie had gotten sick in the car, and we missed services because of the service times being a little different. And then Audie got sick the next day, and we missed the Bible class they had on Thursday. Well, we're driving to PTP Branson, and we're 45 minutes away. And I was exhausted from driving from camp, so Megan was driving at the time. I'm asleep in the passenger seat, and I wake up to that sound that nobody likes, and it's the sound of somebody upchucking, and it was Adam, all in the back seat.
Oh, wow.
And my nice backpack that I travel with, he'd gotten it all in the mesh. It was bad. We had to throw that away, and it ended up adding an hour almost to our trip because we had, thankfully, where he did do that, there was a little convenience store right off the road, so we were able to pull in and grab some stuff to clean everything up. But what was it difficult for us as kids traveling with stuff like that happening as frequently as it seems to be happening to my family?
We had a white van that you cried when we got rid of. One reason I wanted to get rid of it is there was a summer trip to Branson, coincidentally, in which there was some major upchucking going on and multiple times. And I never could get and it was hot, and the air conditioner didn't work well in it. And so we're driving with the stench of throw up in 98-degree heat that our air conditioner was not competing very well against. And, it was not a pleasant trip for sure.
I do remember the trip we took to Colorado. We were driving like all the way there. Yep. And there were a lot of memories on that trip because you rigged it where some of these kids that are listening to this are probably unaware that this even existed, but they used to have the combination VCR TVs, and they would have, I mean, the screen wasn't even as big as the laptop screen I've got, but we rigged one of those up to where we could pop in movies and watch them that way on the trip that, we could enjoy as we're driving, the 18 hours or whatever it was that we were in the car. And then I do remember that we had gotten to the cabin there in Colorado, and we watched a scary movie. It's not like a horror movie and inappropriate or anything, but it was scary certainly for the children. But you and Mom were like, y'all want to watch it? We'll do it. And it was as this movie is getting close to ending that we start to hear this like rustling.
Yes.
Do you remember what you saw?
Oh, yeah. We got up to go out and see what the commotion was. It was some raccoons that were getting into the trash can that was sitting on the front porch. And so we went ahead and shooed them away. And then I thought, I'm going to be clever. We'll put some rocks. You kids helped me put some big old stones or pebbles or rocks on top of the trash can lid so they couldn't get back in. And we're going back to watch the movie again, and suddenly we hear this similar commotion. And if I didn't have your mom as a witness, I'd still wonder to this day if I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. But we looked out the window, and they're basically handing the rocks to each other like, this isn't going to stop us. We've had people try this before. And so I thought, wow, they are persistent, absolutely persistent. And that was a trip. I don't know if you remember also on that trip, there was some fires going on, and the smoke from those fires was so bad that it was making your mom really tear up and her eyes were constantly watering. She couldn't drive. That's the first time I'd ever been on a trip and seen a ram on the side of the interstate. I've seen dogs and all kinds of other creatures, but never had I seen a ram out on the side of the interstate. That was a fun trip. And when we went to Breckenridge, we got up in one of those airlift things, and it was unsettling. We were so high up in the sky.
I remember the other time we watched a scary movie together at home. And this movie's premise was you watch a video and then you get a phone call, and it says 7 days. And you have 7 days until the horror happens. Well, as that movie ended, do you remember what happened?
Phone rang.
The phone rang, and I think it was Bill Pierce was calling to ask you something, but when the phone rang, we all freaked out because it was the perfect timing of it. I mean, as soon as it ended, that phone rang, and we were all like, no, it's real. It's actually going to happen. And I remember watching any scary movie we watch with Mom is hysterical.
Right.
Because she watches like this. She doesn't want to see it. And it could be a movie that's not even scary. But I've learned that it's worse to warn her that it's coming than just letting it happen. Because one time when we were watching a movie together, I said, hey, it's about to get scary. Just letting you know. And normally, for Megan at least, that's like, okay. And she starts, getting settled. Here comes the big scare. For Mom, it's worse. For some reason, she gets more scared knowing that it's about to happen than not. But I think we've probably seen more of the movies when we've watched the appropriate scary movies over the years we've been able to find than she ever has, because she's always looking through her eyes, or her hands. She's always looking through her eyes. That's kind of what you do.
I don't understand how she does it. But.
Man, it's just amazing. Do you remember the Branson lectureship this year when a dog started barking during the services? Do you remember that?
No.
Okay.
I didn't hear it.
This is my last one, and I'll throw it to you for any others you've got. But Adam was sitting in the services, and we're at the Show Me State lectureship and having a great time, seeing a bunch of people we don't see a whole lot. And all of a sudden, I start hearing this little during the song. And I'm thinking, did somebody bring a dog in? I mean, maybe something happened and they had no other choice. And I start noticing, though, that it won't stop. And I look, and it's coming from in front of me. It was a stuffed animal dog that Marissa had gotten Adam and Audie, and it was going off and barking. Well, most animals like that, there's an off switch. There's no off switch. We still couldn't find one. And so Adam was so mad at me because I took that dog and put it in the car. I said, you can see that dog after services, because it went off twice, once while we were singing and then once while someone was up there preaching. And I thought, I can't let him hold this, because if he squeezes the dog in just the right way, it's going to let it be known that it's here. But yeah, there we had a dog barking during the Show Me State lectures.
I do remember one other story that stands out to me when we were traveling is you were probably 7 or 8 years old, and we were in East Tennessee at a gospel meeting. I want to say it was Clinton, Tennessee, and the man is up there introducing me and my family, and your mom and brother and sister we were all there together. And the man says, we have Brother Clarke here today with us, his wife Tish, their son Daniel, their daughter Holly, and their youngest son Slick. And I looked at your mom, and she kind of looked at me, and she said, did he just call him Slick? Yeah, I think he did. Come to find out, between Bible class and worship, you had gone out in the foyer. Who will be introducing my family today? Who's going to be the introducer? Well, we guess the preacher. Okay, sir, I want you to know that when you introduced my family, I go by Slick. Well, that was the first we had ever heard of it. Well, lo and behold, all that week at the hotel, people we don't even know are walking down the hall toward our whole family as we're leaving or coming. And, hey, Slick, how's it going? I'm, how do you know these people? Oh, they're my continental breakfast buddies. And then one time you were behind the counter back in the laundry area, and I was getting all over you. I said, Michael, you're not allowed back there. Come on out. And this woman popped her head over and said, now, I told Slick anytime I'm back here that he can come back here too as long as I'm back here. And I thought, oh, boy.
Took the wind right out of your sails on that one, didn't it?
He's either going to be a politician or a gospel preacher. I hope he's a gospel preacher, and I'm glad you became a gospel preacher.
Well, I'm thankful, too. And it is neat to see some of the parallels because we traveled a lot growing up. Now my children get to travel a lot with me. And one particular day we were driving and on the interstate and drove past to Hampton Inn. And Adam said, Daddy, do you own that Hampton Inn too? I said, what? And he said, do you own that Hampton Inn too? And I said, I don't own any Hampton Inns. I would like to. It'd probably be a nice financial endeavor, but I don't. And he said, well, we have all these rooms we stay in. And I said, do you think that Daddy and Mama own every room we stay in? And he said, yeah. And so he's been driving around with me thinking probably past it. We own that Hampton Inn and we own that Hampton Inn and that one.
That is loaded.
And so I just remember sitting there when he said that and going, you know, I probably said some similar stuff. Mm-hmm. And the memories, that flood back. I was telling Mom last night, Audie was a little bit upset and I took her out to the foyer and the TV was over there on the screen. And so I took her finger and pretended to take her hand across each word of the song. And I remember being a little boy sitting in Mom's lap and her doing that with my hand. And it's just like nostalgia just hits. And it's like, oh, yeah, I remember doing that. But do you have anything else you want to say?
I just want the whole audience to know Tish and I tried with Michael. We did our best. Please do not hold it against us. No, in all seriousness, we're proud of you. And when your children act out, I am always so excited to see that you're getting back a little something that you gave us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm glad for our listeners and watchers that they got to see the other person who, if it can happen to anybody, it happens to us. Yes. I tell people all the time on this show, I used to think that you guys were making this up in the preacher's dinners and lectureship evening dinner things. I'd hear someone tell a story and think, there's no way that happened. I mean, there's no way. And then I became a minister and I had one kind of weird situation happen. I thought, oh, this is just normal. Mm-hmm. This just takes place. Really and I love doing this program and getting to talk to preachers. And I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. The best part of this show, no one will ever hear. And that is before we hit record. And the preachers that sit down with us say, now, I won't tell this one, but this is a good one. Yeah. And some of the greatest stories I have ever heard, no one will ever know unless that preacher tells them. Right. And so thank you for being with us. And this brings a close season 4 of Did That Really Happen? Thank you. Yes. And we are looking forward to season 5, but we're also back recording season 3. And so there'll be actually a bonus for our listeners that they're going to have some unscheduled Did That Really Happens that are just going to be trickling through after polishing the pulpit. So if you're at PTP Sevierville, we'd love to see you. Maybe you'll stop by while we're recording. But Dad, thanks for being on. And Lord willing, our regular season and regular scheduled content comes out starting this Sunday.
Fantastic.